Hey, hey, welcome to another episode. I am Dagny.
And I'm Damali.
And in this episode, we want to discuss and reflect with you the initiative and agenda behind the push to invite Black diasporans to return home to Africa. In this episode, we're going to be focusing primarily on the Beyond the Return, the Year of Return, and Beyond the Return. These are two initiatives that are specific to Ghana, located in West Africa. And these initiatives are an example of this, I would say, like a new wave push for Black diasporans to connect with Africa, return to Africa, invest in Africa, things like that. So we wanted to answer the question whether or not this has been beneficial or will continue being beneficial to everybody involved. And this is coming from the diasporan side as well as the African side. Yes. And we did our research, as we always do, trying to get a sense of what these initiatives really claim to do and what they actually delivered, and whether or not there's any results that can be measured. And we'll take note within this episode what we found or we didn't find, and then also share our own opinions and reflections on how we think it could continue or what we would love to have seen ourselves, because this is something that we both have some experience with too. So as we're getting into, yes. So to start, just so that we're all on the same page, yes, let's break down for you what exactly was the Year of Return and what is Beyond the Return, the two initiatives that are in Ghana. And I'm going to throw this to you, Damali, in terms of letting us, so that we're all on the same page about what these initiatives are supposed to be doing.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So we started with a Year of Return, and then now it's the Beyond the Return programs. And it basically, I guess in a short way, it's kind of like for the Year of Returns, like bringing back our, I guess, like far away sister, I guess I could say like sisters and brothers kind of thing, from and bringing African Americans back after the what's it called? It was like was it 400 years? I think that's what they said, 400 years after slavery and all of that, and like bringing back our sisters and brothers from across the pond. And actually Daggy and I suppose we were kind of part of it, right? Because during 2019 we were actually at when they had the first December to remember, the Year of Return, and it was so nice to see all these different like Black people, all different hues and colors and types and all of that in like the same place. And I think that was the first push of like trying to, I guess, bring us back together. And that was the main start in 2019, where people are like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe it should be time to give African American citizenship in Ghana, kind of thing, so they can be connected in that way. And then for the Beyond the Return, this is like after that, right? And then for the Beyond the Return, they have their main like mission for Ghana welcoming diaspora as citizens. And so to break it down, they have like 7 pillars of their main reason behind this Beyond the Return. And it's to experience Ghana and to invest in Ghana, diaspora pathways to Ghana, celebrating Ghana, brand Ghana, giving back to Ghana, and promoting the Pan-African heritage and innovation. So it's meant to give African American citizenship, and then also to help Ghana as well. So that's where we can start with that. And then also it's highlighting it's also for their tourism, and also showcasing what I guess potential they can have in investments for the African diaspora. And it's also to deepen the connection, of course, with Ghanaians and with African Americans and the Ghanaian diaspora. And then so we have more of a community together in that way. And then also helping because of tourism and bringing in it would help African Americans also to help like the economy and things like that. So what was I think the first thing I had said? They say correct. Okay, yes, yeah. Let me read the note they have here for Beyond the Return. Okay. So it is a follow-up to the successful Year of Return Ghana 2019 campaign, which we both were at, which commemorated the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the first recorded enslaved Africans in Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. and it seeks to create opportunities for people of African descent to connect with the motherland through the 7 pillars, which I said before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like a, come back home type of initiative, I guess I could say, for for African American to come back. And we thought it'd be interesting to look at that, to wonder, like, is that a good thing, bad thing? What are the short-term, long-term benefits of that, and what can that look like? And of course, people have very mixed reactions to it as well. But that's where I'll start, just to
yes,
give the idea
thank
of what
you.
it
Thank
is.
you.
Yeah.
And with that, I would also add that these initiatives, like the Year of Return initiative, was a combination of, in terms of, let me start again. In terms of our connection to it, for me, I moved to Ghana in 2018. So I was not necessarily pulled by a Year of Return initiative or returning initiative of any kind. I just happened to land there and find out that this is what they were planning to do and was starting to pull out, kind of thing. And I found it interesting because, historically speaking, the migration back to Africa, when it comes to descendants of Africa who have been outside all the time, has been happening for a very long time. The whole Pan-African movement, ranging way back into the 60s to the 50s and prior, that type of movement has been happening already. What was different was that this is the first time you're having government bodies choosing to create a whole campaign with media, with social media, with events and everything, and choosing to focus on a particular demographic. So even though technically the whole Return initiative is for all Black diasporans, for the Year of Return, they decided to primarily focus on African Americans. And that is why the 400th year anniversary of the first enslaved ship that was recorded into Jamestown, Virginia, that was the pull or the connection they were trying to create. And this was their first time doing a more of like a tourism push to try and push Ghana to be a destination for your holiday. Prior to this, the whole idea of Dirty December, which if you haven't heard this is something that I believe, I don't know if it actually really only started in Ghana, because now there are a bunch of other African countries who also now have this going on, where December, January is a time for party time, where all the parties and panel discussions and networking events and shows happen there. Now, it doesn't necessarily give you a Christmas feel, as in how in America, Christmas is all about Santa Claus, but you will still hear some Christmas carols here and there because they do a whole different like choral type vibe here. But the Year of Return initiative was trying to push that even more for people outside to come, even if you don't have relatives here, you should come and experience it. And it was actually a very big push on social media, trying to push this narrative of, we're showing you the Africa they don't want you to see, where it's actually safe to come and enjoy yourself for a few weeks. And you can still have, if you want, a luxury experience as well. Okay. So we actually, in 2019, yes, we did, as a family, experience for the first time, the whole Dirty December Year of Return experience. And in this episode, we wanted to take note of where that started, for that was just the event, the culmination of it. And then now fast forward 5 or 6 years later, these pillars that they have now created and say we're pushing, do we have results from it? Since for me, being on the ground since then and now, there's things that I can take note of in terms of on the ground, what patterns or what differences have happened with these initiatives. But our bigger questions also have to deal with the not only short-term but long-term effects of having this push for migration that is so that's a bit propaganda laden, if that's the right word to put it. Yes. So I just want to add that before we get into our reflections, to understand the agenda behind it was yes, wanting people to come home, but there also was a lot more like tourism, economics. How can we make money off of bringing in people with foreign currency into the country? And how to utilize Black people with that, really. That is also part of these initiatives too. So now going on to the next part with reflections on whether or not reactions or what these initiatives, what results have come from it. Where to start? I would say for me, wait, should I start or let me throw it back to you, Damali?
You can go ahead.
Okay. I would say for me, when they were building up to the Year of Return campaign, I personally was really excited to see what would come out of it, because I'd already was aware historically about the variety of Pan-African movements that have tried to strengthen connections with Africa that had been distorted and removed and brutalized by the slave trade. And I wanted to see how are we utilizing, this is like the first time really utilizing the internet and younger people to push this. And during 2019, it seemed like this had a lot of potential for a lot of good. This was the first and only time I had seen Ghana really on display, as in all of their culture from, and not just from Accra, like every aspect of their regions were being pushed to be represented, from dressing up their buildings, making sure every festival is being represented in some way, making sure their history is constantly being pushed out there, like trying to package things for people from outside to experience it. Which prior to that, this wasn't really happening because everybody else kind of takes for granted you should already know because you live here. So we don't need to showcase that much. So for that, I thought that was very beautiful. Then adding to in the January time in 2019 to 2020, when we did have possibly one of the biggest waves at one time of people coming from outside. And it wasn't only African Americans, there were Black people from the Caribbean, Black people from different parts of Europe also were coming for this. Seeing all of them enjoying themselves, like seeing the variety of it was just a beautiful representation of Black beauty and Black presence, I would like to say, because everybody was outside. Everybody was in the different restaurants. Everybody was at the different festivals. Everyone is wearing the brightest prints that you can find. You know, everyone is just in almost, I don't want to say it's a high, but in this vibe of like, oh, Africa together kind of thing. As much as that some of it might have been on the surface or not, it was still a beautiful imagery and beautiful energy. It definitely boosted the energy of the space at that time. Now, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, or maybe this even influenced some of it, that because that was going into 2020, and then a few months later, the rest of the world shut down and closed their borders, and all focus now went to something completely different. The trajectory of this initiative also had to transform a bit to maintain its momentum or even try to bring the results that it had. So a lot of like promises that were made either for investments or, okay, we're definitely going to come back a few months from now to start this, to start that. And then now we can't because people are technically unaliving due to a certain virus, as well as, literally, as well as other economies completely don't know what to do with themselves because they can no longer import or export or all the other stuff that was happening at that time. Now, luckily for Ghana, even though, yes, the virus was in Ghana at that time, and yes, unfortunately, some people did unalive, but it did not shut down the country the way it did in other parts of the world. The lockdown in Ghana was like literally 2 weeks. And then they had to go back outside because one, what are they going to do inside? And a lot of their stuff, they don't need to be inside all the time like other places because it wasn't as terrible. But it definitely changed the trajectory of you want this place to be a travel destination and now no planes can fly because of this virus. Yeah. So I can take note that, to be honest, since 2019, every other Dirty December since that time has not had the same energy as it did in 2019. Even though every year since then, this amount of money came in, this amount of people flew in, it still is not as much as it was in 2019. And I don't blame Ghana for that. I don't blame the initiative for that. I feel there's a lot that was out of their control. And I do commend them for not running away and insisting, okay, we're just going to cancel it. It was a time. Great. Let's move on. I think it's good that they still tried and decided, okay, we're going to do Beyond the Return, like we had already noted. Now that is a 10-year initiative with all these pillars that they want to try and push. Okay, fine. Now the thing is, though, with this Beyond the Return, there has been citizenship given to certain diasporans. There has been different rhetoric on how you can get those passports. How can you get the visa? How can you get land? How can you get businesses here? And this is where I guess is part of the process and having so much based on what is on the internet. Because unfortunately, the initial push was based off of a lot of social media presence of people deciding, hey, you guys, I'm going to use my entire YouTube channel to show you, look at me, I'm in Ghana doing this and that. Or I'm going to use my entire Instagram or TikTok to show you why you should invest in Ghana. Those sort of things were happening with people who were not exactly viable or valid to be sharing that information. But because they were the only ones doing it at that time, they would get a lot of attention, or a lot of people would kind of project onto them that you must be the head of this because you're always posting all this information. What we have seen now is that now a lot of misinformation has been happening. And then with the added layer of assumptions already happening, that a lot of people on the ground, whether you are Ghanaian or not, really don't know what Beyond the Return has done for them, or really cannot pinpoint what has Beyond the Return benefited Ghana or any of its people. And that's sad, because even though I get it that some of it is propaganda and PR, some of it was just to make money. There's others of it though, and some of the people who were behind it originally who really believed in more substance or more depth or more support that could have happened for everybody involved with this initiative. The types of misinformation and assumptions that have happened are misinforming how do you get citizenship. There has been assumptions made that only if you're a celebrity, that's how you get it. Like Stevie Wonder got it. And did he go through the protocols that are online claiming? Because technically online, to get citizenship, you're supposed to live here for 5 years. You should invest a certain amount of money, either register something. You need to have another Ghanaian to vouch for you. There's certain criteria you have to do before you can get to the point of applying for citizenship. And of course, people are asking, so did Stevie Wonder do all those things or not? We just know that he was in an interview some years ago claiming he wants to move to Ghana and bring his family. And then years later, we see the president giving him the passport. And, we can't make assumptions. Did Stevie have 5 years to live here and we just didn't know? I don't know. Nobody knows. But other people are like, well, he's a celebrity, so we just take it as is. Similar to, there'll be headlines, 500 diasporans are given the passport. 400 diasporans. Then you ask, how did you get there? Did you stay? Did you do the protocol? Or are you in some kind of clique? Even diasporans here be asking the same question. How do you get into this group? Like, what office are you supposed to go to? These sort of things are still happening, unfortunately, which is a combination of some communication is just not there. And then misinformation or assumptions fill in the gap. Another thing that came up was land. How the process of getting land in Ghana, because that's something that you got to invest in. Africa is moving. Africa's ahead. You got to invest. Everybody else is investing. You should invest in land. Misinformation again has happened where people think that if you're a Black American, you just come to Ghana and they give you land for free. I don't know who started posting that, but that's what people be saying. Then you have other Black Americans will come and they are in a group, they've purchased land and they want to build some kind of diaspora neighborhood or something. And of course, because we're in the internet age, they need to post it all the time. Look, you guys, we dug a hole, we dug 2 holes, we now put the wood. They're doing that to build up a community because they need people to come and invest to make back the money they spent. But then the misinformation takes that video, and you know how you have people responding to stuff where like you don't create content, your content is responding to everyone else's content. So other people will then like, yeah, these guys are building something and guess what? They got it for free. Y'all need to come to Ghana. Y'all like, well, the original people never said this. But then that video goes viral. And then other people come back, they're giving people, why are you giving people free land, but you're making Ghanaians pay for this and that? So then those assumptions are just held. Some of them get debunked when people take the time, but a lot of them don't. So and I have felt like while observing this, that a lot of this are things that possibly the people who created the initiative didn't even realize this is what would have happened. They kind of are more focused on, okay, we put the party's going to be here. The panel discussion will be there. This hotel will be available. Make sure you get the photos. Like that's all they were focused on, not knowing that when other people pick it up who are not even in Ghana, you have no control over what they do with it, unfortunately. And then my last point for now, then I'm going to throw it back to you, that when it comes to on the ground, outside of being online or on the internet, how these initiatives have benefited or not. I would take note, which we can reflect more on later in the episode, that to me, there are the benefits and repercussions sometimes cancel each other out sometimes, where some benefits that even Ghanaians can take note of too, of like, actually, it's us diasporans who utilize the artisans more. As in, we want the furniture to be locally made. We want the art to be locally made. Like we're the ones really pushing that we want the stuff to be made here. Because from our frame of reference, if it was made here, that means it's going to boost the economy here. Because again, the initiative told us that if you invest in Ghana, it's going to boost the economy. Again, a gap of information that the economy here does not work like the Western country that you came from. Taxes don't really apply here like they do in the US. When you purchase from a local business in Ghana, you are supporting that person. You might be supporting that person's children or that person's auntie or that person's family, but that person's money doesn't go towards building the roads in the neighborhood. That person possibly does not pay any taxes, because the tax collection here is still not as fully developed for the artisans or the people that you are dealing with on the ground. Yes, if you go to the bigger corporation or the bigger franchise stores, they have to pay taxes, yes. But again, are those taxes being utilized to build the highway? Are the taxes being utilized to keep the electricity on all the time? Unfortunately, no. So where the money goes doesn't calculate the same way, unfortunately. Yes. So there's always a running joke, because I'm somebody who I do use as many local products as I can find. And the running joke for us is like, oh yeah, because I'm trying to, I'm supporting Ghana's economy. And Ghanaians always laugh to be like, it's supporting somebody's pocket. It's not the Ghana's economy really that supports that, but they do recognize, or they do appreciate that we make that effort. So, because we actually make that effort more sometimes than maybe others. Another thing is, which we will speak on later too, is this notion of who is eligible to be a citizen of Ghana, and whether or not we can view an African country outside of the vacuum of romanticizing a Black country. Because some diasporans do have this weird, sometimes it comes across weird, but do have this notion that because Ghana is a Black country, there should only be Black people here. And then they find it very strange. Why is a Lebanese person getting a Ghanaian citizenship? Why is an Indian person why is this Chinese person getting what's the problem? Like, we're under attack. When would you say the same thing about the different types of people who have an American citizenship, or the different types of people who have a British or French or whatever other Western country? So these other countries who are not from the West, even though their majority of the population might still be more homogeneous compared to the West, they're not living in a vacuum. There are so many immigrants here who have been here longer than you. They were here before Kwame Nkrumah. They're generations here, even though they're not Black. And so even the idea of what is the criteria, what are we doing with citizenship, and how does that benefit Ghana when you give this citizenship? That is something we need to reflect on, and possibly also ask questions of how do we build that criteria? Because it's like, this is new. And so we can't necessarily follow the criteria of other countries, but you also cannot claim, it's also difficult to figure out how to do that criteria when it comes to demographics and race and genealogy and family ties. But we'll get more into that later. So that's all for now. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think information is the main thing. I think it's not being information needs to be better streamlined so that everyone kind of knows exactly what the deal is. Because I think even for us when we were looking through it and kind of like what to figure out like what exactly are the criteria? Because when you see different videos and different information, people are like, can just anyone and their mothers just come in, kind of thing. And I feel, and I've even heard some people saying that that's not kind of the way it should be. You shouldn't just have a bunch of like anyone, like you say 500 African American, kind of thing, like from London or America, all these people coming in, and I'm just like, okay, but who are they and what are they doing? And like, and of course, there's a difference between everyone knows how it is. There's different types of expats. There's the ones that actually add to the country and do things with the country, and then others that they kind of like they're living their like they're bringing their world from their where they came from, and they're just like planting it in the new country. So you're not really like so it's like you're not really investing in the local stuff. You're kind of just using your stuff from other country to do whatever you're doing here, kind of thing. Um, and another part of I think the initiative was to I think it was like there's also another thing an agenda called the Ghana Beyond Aid, where it's supposed to be an idea where you're less like Ghana's less reliant on aid and less dependent, and how that will help with that is if they have their brothers and sisters from like African Americans from London and and obviously I'm from America or from the diaspora to come back and be able to like return and build and invest in Ghana so they're self-reliant and we're like it's only the diaspora and Ghana that are helping each other move forward. But yeah, I do have that question of like, is it really helping the people here? Like, is there because there really should be a type of coupling of both to make sure they're better, but I assume that's what the initiative is supposed to be. And I don't know how much of it is because we went to the year of return, of course, and I like what you said about the COVID thing, where I don't know what would have happened if COVID had not happened, and would it have made it bigger, or like is that because obviously COVID like affected obviously everyone in economies and things like that, and maybe that is what made things get lost in translation, I suppose. Because I was kind of like, what? Who's getting the citizenship? Like, why? Like when I heard about Stevie Wonder, and then I was like, wait, when did he? How long has he been? What's going on? And like, who's getting these things? And also and wondering what the celebrities are, because like I think you've seen a lot of the videos too of how like celebrities will come here and be talking and stuff, and I'm just kind of like, are you here for a good time or a long time? Because like you're just like it's like a photo op, like oh my god, look at Ghana, and then they just leave, and I'm just like, wait, what are you? I'm wondering what are you adding to the country though? That's always my question. Like, what are you adding? Or are you just here for some short time to say one thing and then you're out and that's it, kind of thing? So I do think that um, it should not just be like I mean, it shouldn't be everyone en masse just come. It's like it should be like it should be very intentional with the people that are coming that can really help the country and then help themselves, kind of thing. And then of course, and there's some people where there's some stories that instead of talking about the process, they just talk about like their move. Like there's one lady I saw a video where she was coming from Florida, I think, or something, and she said that the reason she left America to move to Ghana is because, she felt like she didn't feel very like she didn't think it was safe. She couldn't tell how safe it was for her kids to stay in America. And then also her son, I think, was like autistic, but he's very like very tall and very like has his dreads and stuff, and so at school sometimes in America he would have issues with that, and like her husband too would have issues, like they wouldn't let him come in because he's wearing a turban, all this stuff. It can be, it's hard to figure out in America where you stand, and so I think it was like 8 years ago they moved to Ghana, and then they have some kind of traveling company or something, and they talk about how it's been the best thing they've done and everything, and they're really like invested in Ghana and like being here and like being a part of the community and stuff. And I think that makes sense to me, where when you move here, it should be like you're integrated in it, kind of thing. And I mean, we didn't I don't think that they didn't talk as much about like specifically like the effects of their business on Ghana and stuff, but I suppose people are paying to come here, but that's putting money into Ghana, of course. But there's always that question of like, where is the money going? Like, and it's true, like is the money going to like helping Ghana in terms of like, roads and as an example, like, roads and like are people getting paid, like how is the local community getting affected by all these diaspora coming in, or is it just like they're just in their own little bubble, and then because there's different types of people. There's the ones that are just there for the photo, or just like they like they move to Ghana, or they're here and go, but they act like tourists kind of thing. And there's a difference between like being actually like a tourist and then actually being integrated and immersed in the culture. Um, and I think that is where we're having like misinformation, because sometimes, sometimes with celebrities here, it seems like a photo op type thing. Like I remember like when we went to the year of return, and there's a bunch of celebrities around, and there's like this one tent, just like all the celebrities have their own tent on the side in some corner, and I'm just like, whoa, okay, like are you like better than everyone else? Like what? Like, and I'm just kind of like, are you actually here for something or not? Like, what's going on here? And yeah, and they are all talking, and all these talking heads about, oh, Ghana and everything. But I'm just like, are you really here? Like, are you really a part of it? Or are you just like talking about Ghana, but not like, uh, what are you shifting, and how are you integrating into society? Because that's the main thing. Because it's true. If I mean, it's okay to have, a bunch of people moving to go, but like, I would think that for many local people, they're like, what are you doing for me? Like, what, like, why are you just taking up space? Like, I don't know, like, what are you doing here? And so I think it's important, which of course it takes time. I mean, of course, when you first move to a place, right, it takes time to get used to it and like learn about the culture and be really in it. But if you come, like, for some people, it seems like you just come to Ghana. If you're just coming to Ghana to just like, you know, diss everyone, or just be like not like being rude to, or not like it's like you move like, it makes me think of times I've been like, well, segue a little bit, when I went to when I did study abroad in China, and people would come and and really like it and stuff, and then there'd be people just complaining about everything, like they have a problem with this, and I should have gone here and all this stuff, and I'm always just like, but why are you here then? Like, why are you, what reason are you here for, kind of thing. And so I think the main thing is, yeah, we need to be more strategic, and it needs to be more streamlined. So like it's a certain type of people should be here that can, I guess, integrate and make a difference, kind of thing. And sometimes the information or misinformation makes it seem like it's just everyone and anyone can come and it's fine. There's no, free for all. And I don't think it's that, but sometimes it seems like that with the information that's coming out. Um, and that can be damaging, of course, because then we don't really know, like, who is this really helping? Like, what are we? It's the main thing. Like, what is the main gain, kind of thing? And it should be like, you're gaining. There should be there should be work opportunities, and knowledge and skills, and this whole, like, bringing them back to make the country bigger and more powerful and things like that, right? And richer and things like that. And I think that's, yeah, because even when when I'm looking at online too, it's something that's hard to see what exactly are the criteria. What is this? Because it seems everyone is doing different things, and people are confused with how to get the citizenship, and like what, like, and like, or they think only a certain type should get citizenship, and what's good, that kind of thing. And so I would say that we it's important to look at the, I guess, the short term benefits and the long term, which I guess you said it was a 10-year situation. So I guess, when the 10-year mark comes, we'll see what it does. But yeah, it's sometimes it's difficult to tell, like, who, the people coming here, are you really helping, or are we just, is this a photo op, or like, because I still remember too when they did a thing on it was some news thing. I forgot what was her name? I don't know what. I think was it during Black Panther around that time, or maybe it was before, when they were on the rooftop of, like, Bellagio or something, and they're just like all talking and like, talking about local stuff. But it just seemed very like photo op ish to me, and I'm not sure if that helped, who that helped. I'm not sure. They were kind of talking about it, and then instead of going to the actual place where the people work, they just bring them on this like rooftop, and the local people, and I'm just kind of like, what, is this real, or what, kind of thing. And as much as I really liked the year of return 2019. I thought it was really fun and really cool to see all the different, different Black people and hues and colors and all of this. And there is a different energy in Ghana than there is in, in parts of America, obviously, right? It's a different country, different vibe. And it was really nice to see that. But it's one of those things where like, is that that feeling, is it how much of it is like really like, okay, everyone is coming and the right type of people are coming and we're really growing the country and it's really working, like, or is it just, oh, it's just a party and then everybody leaves kind of thing, or it's just we're just here for a short time and then go, and then and then figuring out who actually is the right type of people to come in the country. Because I think there's a reason why for some countries, like, it's strict, like it's very strict to stay in the country, because like you want to make sure the people that are living there are adding to your country, that they're adding something, and also getting something out of it, kind of thing. Otherwise it seems kind of like random, and then we're kind of like, what like it should be a, what's that term, what's that phrase, the quality over the quantity, I think, is the main thing, because quantity can be difficult. If you don't have the proper people here, then it can cause more issues, and it can cause more tension, and then you have that usual thing that we have where there's like this, like we're against it, like there's a local people, the Ghanaians versus diaspora, and like, which it happens in the news too, where it's like we're out to, we're not on the same page. And I think the point is to be on the same page, to kind of understand each other and like grow with each other, and like, and we know that will make both of us and the country stronger, right? And so I think that's the main thing we've been coming across. And I agree that maybe this initiative, that I'm sure they meant well. I'm pretty sure the point was to just integrate and have the proper people come and all of that. But a lot of these other information coming out, I mean, it might not even be, I mean, the information, not necessarily the initiative, it's not part of them, it's just other people think that this is what is going on. But I do think that there could be, it's a good, like, the idea overall of bringing people back and it's a good one. But I think it needs to be more fine-tuned and streamlined, so that people know exactly what you have to do, and it shouldn't be like, there shouldn't be a feeling of like all over the map, or just like anything goes, anyone goes. And then I don't think we got into the other people yet. Well, maybe we'll get into that later, of like having, like, Lebanese people, or Arabs or white people also getting citizenship, and how that is the distinction to actual Black people coming in from other countries. But I think that's the first thing I'll say about that.
Okay, yes. And then, yes, we can speak on that, because that's something I also
Yes.
wanted to note, is that from being here and having different experiences and conversations, I think I also take note that I'm not sure if this is the right approach for us to go, where for Black diasporans or Black people, our priority or our approach to wanting to move to Ghana, or wanting to be in wanting to be in Africa, is that so different from the other immigrant communities that are in Ghana or Africa. And I've always noted that I feel like there is some notes that we can learn and take from the other immigrant communities that are here in Ghana that are thriving. Now, this is from the outside looking in, because I'm not necessarily a part of these other communities. But it is known that from Lebanese to Indians to different types of Asians to different types of white people, there are communities of them in Ghana who have been here for generations. And they own businesses, they own factories, they own land, they own entire industries here. They are some of the people who are employing. They're kind of, some of them, the bigger employers in the country. And they, from what I've seen, they don't need an initiative to push them to come here. They don't need a YouTube channel to show that what they're doing here. They don't need, I'm not sure if they have a desk in government for their affairs. While we do in Ghana, there is now a diaspora desk or Ministry of Diaspora Affairs. And it's not that they're completely separate from the government, but I have found that I feel like the Black diaspora kind of, one, sometimes looks too much to the government of the African country or the government of Ghana to be doing something for them or to be providing something to them. Then on top of that, there is this, I don't know if we can call this like a Black tax, whereas Black diasporans, your moving there is supposed to be to help build Ghana or to help support or uplift Ghana. While for these other immigrant communities, since they've been here generationally, technically they do affect or influence Ghana's economy outside of government. But I'm not sure if you ask them, why are you here? Is their response because they want to help Ghana? Or is it because, well, actually being in Lebanon right now doesn't make sense for them? Or being in India right now doesn't make sense for them? And when you compare the way they move differently, for the Lebanese, the Indians, the Chinese, and I'm just naming the different demographics. The other Asians too are in it too. One of them could land in Ghana today. Tomorrow, they are the manager at one of their big stores in their community, and they're set. They know where to register. They know where to live. They have they're set. And they're good for the next 10 years if they actually still want to stay here. Because their community is intact. Like they actually have a community here that's even sometimes separate of Ghanaians. So even though they do work with Ghanaians, they do work with other African people, they do employ them, they do have to collaborate, but their conversations are not always necessarily complaining about Ghanaians. Now, I'm not going to vouch for all of them because I've observed that some immigrant communities here do not treat Ghanaians very well, sometimes being almost to the point of being very disrespectful. Yes. So I'm not claiming they're all the greatest. I'm also not claiming that all of them are bad, but taking note of the way they operate here. They're able to move. They're able to make money. They're able to maintain businesses for generations, regardless if Ghanaians are late or not, regardless of who is president or not, regardless of what the IMF or the World Bank decided or not. While my fellow Black diasporans, regardless if you are just coming today because of this return initiative, or you've been here since Kwame Nkrumah's time or before, we tend, unfortunately, to still maintain the narrative of complaining about Ghanaians or complaining about, well, it's not the way it was where I just came from, or insisting on having to do everything by ourselves. So when you juxtapose the two, the other immigrant communities own the franchise that are the grocery stores. They own the clinic. They own the farms. They own these things, which is a franchise, and they have multiples of these things. While Black diasporans have the travel companies, the tour company, maybe a shop, maybe a fashion business, maybe not only tours, but also like, oh, they will help you get your citizenship or help you to register your business, these kind of services. But they're all a one-person thing and maybe a few workers. Which means when they decide to leave, the business is gone. It's done. If they can't continue due to capital or funding, it's done. And it's all in these floating cliques that don't necessarily connect with each other all the time. And that is something I've always noticed as the gap, that when Black diasporans tend to be quite frustrated, and then they go to the diaspora's office or whatever minister, whatever representative who claimed you guys should come. This is where I think maybe also the gap of communication and assumptions come in. That a lot of Black diasporans, sometimes they came with the notion or the idea that things would be set up in a way similar to how these other immigrant communities have set themselves up. The issue is, though, that these other immigrant communities were not set up by the government. They did it themselves. While the Black diaspora has yet to do that for ourselves. And it's not, and even though, but it's not as simple to do that because these other immigrant communities are from the same country. We say Lebanese, you're one country. Even though I get it, there's a split like religiously among themselves, but there's still one country. The Black diaspora is the entire planet. Black people from all over the planet. We all speak differently. We're from different cultures. We have different accents. Our favorite food is different. Some people like pop. Some people like soda. Some people, it's the same thing, but we all say different, right? And we're expected that when we're here, well, since we're all Black, we should be fine, when that's not the case, unfortunately. So it seems like there's so much more deconditioning and relearning that the Black community in Ghana needs to do in order to thrive here in a way that can impact generations with and without Ghanaians. Because Ghanaians already got their own role. They got their own thing set in terms of how they need to thrive, whether if they choose to stay here or they choose to leave. They're not here to hold your hand. But if you can help to get them closer to their goal, great. If not, you're kind of in the way. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah. So I have observed this and noted that this is what I think causes some of the heartbreak, where people can say that, oh, the year of return has done nothing, or beyond the return has done nothing, is due to the expectations and the communication behind those expectations, that some of it was not possibly completely accurate. And some of it is stuff that maybe people didn't even know that they needed to have considered before starting. So when it comes to, because even for me, I've taken note that, like, for us Black diasporans, we're not all on the same page. We don't have the same priorities. Some people have completely different goals about why they're here, how long they want to be here, what they want to experience here. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then that does come into, that influences whether or not we can build together and what we're actually building. Because from what I have experienced and seen and conversed with, there are some priorities of Black diasporans who, like you noted, they want to build something that resonates from where they came from and kind of keep Ghanaians as the servant. And I'm looking at them like, this is not, where did you think, how, like that doesn't resonate in terms of why I'm here. And I would be quite saddened if the assumption is all of us are on that. Like all of us feel like that's why we're here, to take up space and pretend as if we are superior to somebody else in somebody else's house. That's not cool. While there's other Black diasporans who they came here to heal. And that's all they're interested in. They want to live outside in the suburbs or the jungle and just be there in their little farm with nature. And that's it. They don't want to know about politics. They don't want to know about business, nothing. It's just, they're just here to heal quietly, peacefully in the jungle in Africa. And that's it. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but not all of us resonate with that. Yes. Then there's others like, I'm going to do business. I want to create this. I want to create that. I want to uplift. I want to save. I want to do this and that, the other. And then you get hit with, ooh, people are not being honest with you. People are not on time. People did not have the right quality of stuff. And the money is just going. What do you do with that? And you don't have a Black diaspora community to help you with that. Everybody is self-funded in some shape or form. Because we have, it causes a lot of like fragmentation when it comes to our priorities and what we actually want to stand for. Now, because of that fragmentation, that creates a loop of people to use us for their propaganda. This is something I have an issue with, where the Black diasporans are blamed for the prices are going up in Accra. It's because of those diasporans. That's why the price is going up. Oh, this is not available anymore. Those diasporans, that's why. All these new apartment buildings that are empty are still being built all over the city and are still empty. It's just that's the diasporans. It's because they want to live in those type of places. That's why they're building it. Unfortunately, that is what the diaspora face is being used for a lot of the times here in Ghana. When if you ask a diasporan, they would tell you they can't even afford the empty apartment buildings because it's out of their budget already. But nobody asked because, again, we don't have a community. And this is what I was hoping the Beyond the Return initiative could have helped with. Because again, it's not just the government. They have a separate office that was supposed to be in charge of this. But again, it is possible this is something that they didn't even know would be an issue when they were creating these pillars and creating these opportunities for people to come. So then the question is it Ghana's responsibility to create this community for Black diasporans, or are Black diasporans having that responsibility? And if it's us Black diasporans who have that responsibility, how long is it going to take for us to get past complaining about stuff being different and wanting to do everything ourselves, and then running away, complaining and being bitter about the fact that it didn't work out or did? So regardless if you got the citizenship, how are we as a community thriving? Or is it still just one person, and that's it? Or like the propaganda, is it still just vibes? Is it still we're just here for the fun time, but not a long time as well? We deserve to thrive just like every other group or demographic that's here, and also in other parts of Africa, if those of us who choose to be in Africa. But how are we being more intentional about it and not just being a face that talks a lot and posts? Sometimes I feel posting too much, where we're the ones who will have these, there's way too many diasporan summit, diasporan seminar, diasporan convention, where we love having all these panels to talk about how we want to talk about Africa as the future. But are we really a part of Africa's future? Because to be honest, the people who are making the decisions are not us. The other demographic immigrants I'm talking about who are already thriving, they actually have more say about where the country's going than us. But we're doing all the talking online. They don't have to talk much online. So I think that is part of I don't know if it's a mindset shift or better understanding of what's on the ground, to get a sense of where that power or that authority and that success can come from. And it's not only based on whether or not we're giving citizenship to Stevie Wonder, or whether or not we gave citizenship to 524 African Americans. And then asking, why did this Lebanese person get Ghanaian citizenship? Why did that Indian person get citizenship? And it's like, if you're on the ground, to take note that the Lebanese or Indian person possibly has made more impact than we have. And they didn't need to be online to say it. It's just there because it's their store that's everywhere, or it's their business that's everywhere. Or do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? And I think these are things that we need to think about as everyone's trying to position themselves on the macro level. Everybody, regardless if they're African, are trying to position themselves to figure out how to continue extracting from or benefiting off of Africa. It would be lovely if Black diasporans don't fall into just being the propaganda puppet persona of some kind, and actually can make real decisions that influence where the direction Africa's wonderful future is going. Along with Africans who are already here looking at us like, why are you here? Or what do we get from you being here? So it's not so, and I feel the conversation should not be so much of like Africans against diasporans, because that also is just propaganda to continue for us to be distracted. All of us would like to make money. All of us would like to be comfortable. All of us want our families to be safe. So how much tension can there be if you know the priorities are the same in that regard? But are we on the same goal about where we want Africa to go? Do we have the same priorities of when we do the criteria for the citizenship? Are you giving the citizenship to psychopaths? Are you giving the citizenship to people who are not educated, who have no money to provide to your country? Or are you actually taking note of who are you letting into your country? Or is it just vibes to make it seem like you're successful and you did something that the IMF wanted you to do? Yeah. So to me, it's like there are so many layers to it. It's not a one size fits all answer, but it's something that I feel needs to be discussed and implemented in a way that actually benefits people, instead of it being a lot of talking points or dissertations that are not moving us anywhere. Because it can be very easy for all of this to slip away, and for other people who are more strategic and not talking as much to take control, as always, over stuff. And then we're sitting back complaining again when we had the opportunity to change that or prevent it from happening. Yeah.
Like, is it just for vibes or? a lot to unpack there. Dagny has something to say.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But to be
Yes,
fair, it makes sense because you've been there for a minute, so you
exactly.
really have seen the way diasporans can act and Ghanaians can act and everything. And it makes me think of, I don't know if you guys know the short story called Everyday Use by Alice Walker. And basically, spoiler alert, you should have read it by now. But basically, it's like there's like this quilt. And I think that not to get into the whole thing, but the main thing, there's two sisters. There's one sister who stayed home and didn't really go out that much. And then the other sister went out and traveled. I don't know if it says if she traveled to her home country or not, I'm not sure. But when the older sister comes back, it's like a photo op. She's like, oh my gosh, she wants to like show off her local family and show that oh look, they're so like as if they're like props or something. And then there's like this quilt and she wants to take everything and she wants to like take a quilt and like put it up and like like a picture. I don't know what she was going to do with it. And the mother was like, "You can do anything, but don't take this quilt." And she's like, "Why can't I want to?" And she's like, the younger sister was gonna give her the quilt because she's like, "I don't know what to do." And then the mother is like, "No, the one thing you're gonna have is the quilt." And she's like, "But like, why can't I just like put it up somewhere to make it look pretty?" And they're like, "No." And the point of the quilt is to be used. And like I think it was like the quilt had like their whole history in it, but they were like actually using the quilts as opposed to just like putting up like a prop, you know? And it kind of makes me think of this issue where it's like, what are you coming to Ghana for? There's a lot of it's like, are you there to actually like use things and like, add to the community and everything? Or are you just there to just like look pretty? Like just stand there and be like, and then be complaining about everything. And I'm like, if you're gonna complain about everything, then why are you there? Just go home, like, um, especially since like, I mean, especially when you're coming from a country that like is not breaking down, because even though yes, we all know Americans know African Americans know America's annoying. We get that. But everything works in America. Like if you want to order something, everything is very like aside from the not knowing if, someone is racist or not, you know what I mean? Like everything works in this country. So it's kind of like you're gonna leave the country and complain, but I'm like, then just go back to America and London also. Like it's not a broken down war torn country. Understand what I mean? But I understand the wanting to go to your home because it is different. Even for me, I don't live in Ghana like Dagny lives there, but it does feel different. Like being black in Ghana is different than being black in certain parts of America. It just is. It just the way it is just different. It's a different vibe, a different feel. Um, but if you're gonna go there and just like complain and like not really understand like what's going on, then what you are kind of in the way because like it's not like like it's not like the Ghanaians are gonna like bow to you and be like, oh, we'll give you everything. Like, no, you have to work for it and like, why should they? Like, this is you just, even though yes, it's your country and your blood, but like, you weren't born here, you're not from here, so like, what are you doing here? Like, what like? I always go back to that clip of Cardi B, and she's like, "What is everything?" And so it's and of course, and this isn't all across the board. There's some diaspora that come in that do the right thing. They do, they're there to be open and helping and all of this stuff. But they also can sometimes be a little bit like isolated, where you're doing your own thing, but you're kind of in your own corner because we don't really have a way to like build our communities within the community kind of thing, which makes sense. We know how even like that's kind of the issue, right? That all of us black people we were all separated and put all over the place and everything. So, which we know that it's the powers that be that, kind of, want that to be a thing, but that's another topic, and how we're all kind of fragmented and we want to pit black people against each other. That's our main thing. Or if you're from somewhere and pit us against each other for a bottom line, which we know is not okay, right? Because obviously if we all came together and we were all on the same page, like a lot of stuff would go down. You know what I mean? Like things would change, let's just say, but the powers that be don't want that anyway. But regardless, it's true. Like, and I did watch a video about that, and people are like wondering why are there like, I think it was for non-Africans or white people getting citizenship, and some people were kind of confused by that. I was like, I don't understand. Why are there non-Africans and white people getting it? Like, what's the deal? Like, I don't understand. Why are all these white people? Where are they coming from? And all that stuff, and which again I think is a distraction because like instead of focusing on that, let's just focus on what we can bring to the country. What are they? Okay, it's fine, whatever. Because if we build our stuff and it doesn't like I think it distracts us from what the real point is of coming home, where it's like you're supposed to be integrating the country, not looking at what the other people are doing. Don't worry about them. Do your own thing. Like just chill out, kind of thing. And because they think, oh, we're going to take, but it's true that in different communities, and we already know, like the Asian, I guess I can talk to that with the Asian communities tend to be a bit more. They can kind of, they're good at building community, is what I'm saying, because they already, they weren't broken up like we were, right? So they're all able to, like, the whether and I guess I could say I'll talk more for East Asians, right? Like Japanese, Korean, Chinese, kind of thing, where they're very good at finding their communities where they can exist in somewhere else altogether, and it's fine, and they just do their work and move, and it doesn't really matter whatever the people are doing on the ground are doing. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters, but like they can work within around that, they're able to kind of, because I've seen some, like East Asians, like in Ghana and stuff, and they have their own thing that they're doing, and it's all set up, and it's all fine, and they have, and they just do what they do and move on, a kind of thing. And I feel like it's different for us Black people, of course, right? Because our history is different, and it's harder for us to just do community, because we're not all like, we're not all the same rate in the same way, right? Where some of us are, like, if you have people from China, they're all coming from China. It's all China, right? Whereas for us, it's like London, right? It's America. It's all over the place that we're coming from. So of course we're not. It's hard to connect everything together, right? But I think that's what, like, there needs to be a way to figure that out, because otherwise we just and then people also have this idea of, oh, if you move to Ghana, that everything will be okay. Like everything, like all your problems will be solved because, well, I'm with a bunch of Black people now, as opposed to America, that's everything fragment, for example. That's, speaking from my perspective. And so it should be fine and everything should be colorful. But I know, especially with Dagny, I know that not everything was easy peasy, right? Even though there is a sense in Ghana where you do feel, it just, there is a sense of, peace there that you feel, right? That's a little bit different. I would just say it's different from America. It's different from how it is to live in America. But even with that sense, you can't just like go to Ghana and be like, I feel good because there are all these Black people and it's calm and that's it, and just sit and that's it. And I'm like, no, you still have to do other stuff. Like you can't just like, and then there will be issues, there will be problems, there will be miscommunication, and there will, because the people can tell you're not from there, right? And even though, yeah, the color of your skin is Black, okay, but like we still know you're not from here. So it's like, obviously people are going to act differently, right? And I think people need to be realistic in that sense. It's not like a cure-all type thing, and it's not and I understand it's like, building community is different for us because of our history, right? But that's kind of what needs to be kind of worked on, like what, where like you need to be, like, things need to work in the community regardless of what's happening in the, like, it kind of thing, because the isolation makes it difficult, because then if we move to the country, we're just isolated, like how can we be integrated then? How can we like help the diasporans and help the local people? And so it won't be a thing where, oh, all the problems we have are because of the diasporan, like, I mean, I know it's very different, but I don't think, I mean, it's different. I don't know if I can compare. You can't really compare China to it, really. But I lived in China, so I guess, like, if there's problems in China, I don't think the Chinese are like, oh, it's because of those American-born Chinese. That's why we're having a problem. Like, I don't think they do. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's different. You can't really. I don't want to ruffle any. I know it's a difference, but exactly, you know what I mean. Or Japan, like, oh, the problems you have in Japan because of the people that are born from America. No, because they have community regardless. Like, even some of my friends, like even the ones that are born here, like they know, like if they go to China, even though yes, they're not from, they still are part of the community because they know the language, they know the culture, everything is like, it kind of, but again, they have a very different history from us, so you can't really compare that much. Whereas for Ghana, we have, it's a unique, our diaspora thing and our history is very unique. You can't really compare it to, you can't really compare our history to anyone else's, really. People try to, but you can't, because we're very different. Okay, we had a very different deal. And I think that we need to do better figure out a way to be better at that, so we're not so disjointed. Because then, like, and it can't be a thing where, oh, the diasporans are causing issues, or oh, the Ghanaians are causing issues. No, you have to work together, and regardless of what issues are happening, how can you thrive regardless of that? And how are other people able to thrive there, even when Ghana is still being the way it is, and yet people can still do what they have to do, and they can stay there for a long time. And I don't know if are we doing the generational thing, or is it just like Black people come for a short time and then leave? Like, I'm not sure. Like, in comparison, like, are we, do we have strong enough ties in there? Like, because it's very like it's disjointed, right? And I do think that there, we need to, and we don't have to be exactly the same as the Chinese or white people there. No one's saying that, but we need to find our own way to exist there and thrive there in a way where it's not like we're pitting ourselves against each other, or we're not really giving back much, and we're not like, or you're not really adding to the country, and then the country also not getting anything from you, and we're not, nothing is broadening. We're just there, but like we're in like just like a vacuum, right? Which, I mean, I guess that's fine, but then it makes it hard to be a part of the country, really, because you're kind of in your own little bubble and doing everything by yourself, because I don't know how to deal with Ghanaian, so I'm just gonna stay in my corner. And it's like, oh, okay, but then like, what, okay, like, well, what do you need to, though, like, like, if you don't work with them and figure it out, then like we're not really integrated, then you're just living in a pocket. Which, and I also would say that, because some countries, that's what you do. Like, I feel like America is a lot more like that, where you don't have to be connected to everything in America for America to thrive. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, you can kind of be in your isolated deal and be fine, because that America is like, we're literally divided in states. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to, you don't have to be all up in, even if you're all in Texas, I don't have to be connected to everybody else in Texas, because everyone has their own thing. Like, that's how America is set up, where it's like you do your thing, individualism, do your own thing, mind your business, which of course also obviously has repercussions in some ways too, being so disconnected. But that's kind of what, you kind of, people come here and like, oh yeah, that's how it is, right? But in Ghana, I think it's very different. Like, in Ghana, you can have more of a community feel and be more connected and do, more things. But you just have to be, not that you can't get frustrated sometimes, but you need to be open to different things, right? Because, it's just different. Okay. And then be aware that some good and bad, right? Like, I mean, from my perspective, right, obviously America, their one thing is like things are very fast, right? Like, if I want to buy something today, I get it today, like immediately. So there is that sense of like, and we're always going, everything's so quick, quick all the time. And in Ghana, I don't think it's in the same way. It's a bit, it's different, right? I can't just like, I'm not as comfortable just to like, granted, I don't live there, right? But I'm not like, in America, I know where everything is, right? Whereas in Ghana, I'm kind of like, Dagny, like, what's going on here? And I think people that go to live there have to realize that it's different, and don't expect it to be where you were from, and don't be like, everything is so different, and like, why is it everything's a problem? Like, okay, then go back to where you were, like, So it's hard though, and I know there are many frustrations and complaints, and I think we're not always seeing eye to eye, and there are issues with the Ghanaians and the diasporans. It's like all mixed up, and I think we always go back to the information thing. I think if we have more information and more communication, then it might be easier to like work with everyone. And and it's fine, like you said, it's fine if you just, oh, I'm just here to heal, I'm doing my own thing, or like, I don't want to, but like, you know, I think it is important to try to, if we want the year of return initiative to really be successful, there needs to be more of a push to integrate more and be more a part of it, and like be more open to different people than you and different ideas, and like, um and really, learn more about like the history of Ghana and stuff, and like learn like social cues here, and know how to figure out how do I best understand why something happens in Ghana that's so different from where I was in London or America or anywhere else, kind of thing. And because that's, you don't have to, if you're just visiting, okay, you don't have to do that because like whatever, right? I mean, you still be nice to people, don't be rude, but like you don't have to be you're gonna leave anyway, right? But if you really want to live there, there needs to be a real push to really learn where you are and get to know everyone. And because it's true, I don't know if like do the London people and do the London diasporan and the Americans hang out in Ghana? I don't know. Is that a thing? Like, do they hang out or do they just,
That's a
you know what I
very good
mean?
question.
Right?
Because
of like,
actually, from what I've
is that a thing?
observed, unfortunately, among Black diasporans, there are cliques within them.
Yeah, you
So
see.
you do see a deal of like the UK ones kind of will just stick to themselves. And then the American ones, well, it's either you from New York or you from Georgia or are you from California? Because all of those three are kind of different.
Very
right?
different.
So everyone kind of will rotate with who they resonate with, which tends to be who resonates with where you came from. It doesn't mean that like, oh, I won't talk to you if you're also not from Jamaica. Like it's not that. But I've noticed that no, when it comes to if we all went to an event, you might see a bit of a mixture. But when it comes to actually on the ground, are we going to each other? Are we supporting each other's businesses? Are we looking out for each other's families? Are we doing, you will see that actually there are cliques and separations happening, unfortunately, with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You see? So it's like that needs to, that's an issue in itself. It's like we can't even integrate, and I thought the whole idea was like, oh, you're a return, we get together, we help each other out, kumbaya, and I'm like, where's the kumbaya? Like, kind of a thing. Which I know it's different, but that's kind of, and so I can understand why, many Ghanaians would feel, and some of them, I don't think they're like vehemently against people diaspora coming, but I think they're kind of just the moment they realize you're not really interested in it, or you're not, they're like, okay, I'll just go back to what I was doing then. Like, which, I mean, because if you're not doing anything for me and you're not really here to see me, then why am I, you know, um, but yeah, and I also think that it shouldn't be like a blame game thing either, where oh well, it's because of they're like this, that's why I can't. But dot dot dot, they're like and I'm like, well, why can other people from other places come here and still do what they have to do regardless? Like what So I think that that is also why there's issues with the initiative because it's kind of like what exactly are we trying to do here? Are we doing what we're trying? Is it like these 7 pillars of doing all of this? Because it's true. It's always that thing like, where's the money going, right? Because I get the thing is the idea that if you're coming from London or America, you must have all this money, so you just come and pay all this money and go. But I'm like, is it really going where it needs to go? Like, is it really helping everyone? Like, and then how are we doing that? And I feel like sometimes we don't have enough information on that. And then, granted, there are people that are doing that, right? Which I think we should hear more about, where people are actually trying to be in part of it and have been in Ghana for many years and like, but yeah, how to integrate where it's always like you're always doing an outside thing all the time. And I'm always wondering, like, is it really helping here? Like what, especially with all the times Dagny and I have gone to these types of events with all these different Black people, different talks and stuff. And we take note that like, there's, you can kind of tell the people that are actually there to integrate and the ones that are just there for vibes, like, like just for the picture, just for the photo op. And I'm just kind of like, that's cute and all, but like, what else are you doing? Like, like what else is happening here?
What do you do?
Yeah. What do you? Yeah, we always have that. Like, what do you do? I don't know. Like,
yep.
That's
can't see it. Can't see
so
it.
I can't see what. So I mean, I would hope this whole initiative, the Year of Return, does like help. Of course, I mean it just putting a light on it where it is important for us to come together. It is important for us to go home and not feel like you're not. Because I think it's a thing too, where sometimes diasporans think that they're not like wanted or like Ghanaians don't really want it, you know what I mean, or kind of thing. And so we need to do better of being like, no, I mean it's fine. It's just, but we need to be very intentional with who's too. Like, are serial killers being sent there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who is actually coming? And it shouldn't just be about like, oh, look, these celebrities are here. So like, okay, but like we're not celebrities. So like we live different. Celebrities live different differently than we do, kind of thing. So we can't really use that as a basis of, and yeah, it needs to go beyond this tourist type vibe, because sometimes I get a vibe where um people come like it's always just about when diasporans comes like, oh, I'm like it like we I don't know how to explain it. Like, the first time we got there, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here, and I really feel like I finally know my history, and I know, and I'm like, that's great. When are we gonna move from that?
Yeah.
When are we gonna, like, your history, now what? It's always like, I know my history, and then you leave. Like, are you coming back? Like, is there more to it than just like, I learned my history? Good, you learn your history and you feel good. But then when that feel good, wears off and you're actually living there and it's been like, a year goes by, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years go by, like what, are you really in the community now where it's instead of just talking about like, ooh, look at Ghana, ooh, it's like, oh, well, no, I'm working with this person in Ghana and I'm doing this with this person in Ghana. And like, I'm eating the local thing here, or like, or these, like, you're really a part of the team. You're not just looking from, I guess what I'm trying to make is like, it shouldn't be an outside in vibe as much kind of thing. And sometimes it is like that, where we make it like, oh, look, like the year of return is like some kind of movie, like a fake movie, or like a postcard, or like it's not real. Like, it's just something, it's very surface level. If that makes sense, with this year of return, when it should be real. Like, it should be, year of return actually means like we really are trying to get integrated, and it should make a big impact, right? And I think that's what, I mean, we're trying, we're getting there, but there are some good things happen. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it's all doom gloom, like no one's doing it. People are doing it. It's just sometimes the information and the media or propaganda stuff makes it seem like it's just like, I don't know how real it is of what's going on. And it's a good point that Dagny brought up about how other people from other that are, non-Africans are able to kind of like come here and build in a way that's not talked about. They just kind of build their wealth, they just build their thing, and regardless of how the country's different from theirs or not, they're still able to move and thrive and stuff. And it's like, we want to thrive too. Like, Black people also, we deserve to thrive too, and all of that. And it would behoove us to try to see how we can integrate and make it more of a community feel. And try to be, if you're going to move to a country and live there, you have to, you can't just be on the outside looking in all the time. It makes me think of China too, where there's certain China people where there'll be expats and they'll be living there forever in their bubble and they don't know a word of Chinese, like don't know any Chinese, we're just there. And which, I mean, it's fine, but then I think it makes it difficult to fully be immersed in the country then, if you're not learning about the culture and the language and everything, and the vibe and how people act and social cues and things like that, then I'm like, then you'll forever be a tourist then, right? That's what tourists do, where you're not a part of anything, but you're just there for vibes, just to look at stuff and like, oh, this is pretty, oh, ooh, kind of thing. You need to go beyond the tourist deal. But and I think that's why we're having issues with like, or there's many different reactions and not fully knowing, is it working or not working? And for the people that it is working for, that are being integrated and it is working, what are they doing? And can we talk more about that? How are they getting, because there are obviously some diasporans who have been able to connect in Ghana and have a community and really be a part of it, not just outside looking in, and really are helping and like, okay, I want to know more about their stories and how to connect with others. And when those people are doing that, is it just done by themselves, or do they have other diaspora people also connected with them, and all of that? So yeah, that's all I can think of to say about that matter. It's a lot to, it's like all over the place, because it is all over the place. What is happening? I don't know. Is it working? Is it not? How's it looking in 10 years? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So that's
Anyway.
what to bring it all in and bring it all together. Yeah.
All these threads of information.
Yes. The notion or the initiative of wanting the Black diaspora, to push the Black diaspora, or a new wave of the Black diaspora to be connected to Africa, to integrate into Africa, to move or invest. There is more than meets the eye, I think, when it comes to the priorities behind that, the agenda behind that, and what is actually needed. I think because it's new in terms of understanding people's expectations and understanding what you actually want from people. What do you want from this demographic if you're pushing and putting them on the spotlight? And what does this demographic want from you? I do feel that we should give ourselves grace and be honest with each other when it comes to that, so we can move beyond complaining or move beyond, okay, yeah, it was my first time here, and now that I feel that I can breathe, now what? And that's not to belittle the experience for many people who it's their first time in Africa and they really feel a difference. I do resonate with that. I understand what they mean of like, you breathe differently on the continent. I do feel like the soil, the space, the energy is different. Sometimes I even like to say it's magical, but I say that respectfully, that there is a difference. In that though, there, like I noted, of this idea of responsibility, Black responsibility, where we're putting Africa on a different expectation. Within America, we move from one state to the other. Do you expect that other state to have everything set up for you and make extra effort for you to feel welcomed? No. You just expect that the target at your state should be the same like the target you went to this other state. You expect the post office is the same. You expect the internet runs the same. You expect the bills you need to pay will be the same. Like you noted, because everything is just set up in that way, you're not expecting anything from people. That's why we're so transient in America, where we can move from state to state, move from city to city, and just go, because everything is set up and it's not really reliant on interpersonal relations. Yes, the systems have people working in them, but you don't need to build a rapport with the person to make sure your internet is connected in your new apartment. You just call the company, they set it up, and then you don't need to talk to anybody again, especially if you're doing remote working. Yeah. While expecting, so if we already have that, if you're coming from America, then you come to Ghana and you're expecting people to do something extra for you, or people to act a certain way for you, or embrace you in a certain way. And so I think this new wave maybe is partly a good thing if we see it, that it's allowing us to release the assumptions or romanticizing that we have held on to. This is something I've told, because sometimes I don't know, sometimes I tend to be like, I don't want to claim to be a spokesperson, but I'm always trying to advocate for the other group to the other group. Like I'm always trying, what if I'm speaking to Ghanaians, I'm always trying to give them some insight as to maybe why the other Black diasporan you met was acting a certain way. Can you try and understand what their experience is when they come? Then if I'm speaking to a diaspora and I'm like, okay, I hear you, maybe you didn't have the best experience with this one Ghanaian, but can you take a moment and understand where they were coming from and what they were doing before you got here asking for something? Yeah. And what I've noticed as let's say, sorry, it sounds like there's people in the hallway, my bad, as a recurring pattern that we need to take note of is that, which I noted was like something that is heartbreaking, which maybe is where the distraction or the looping is occurring when we're complaining. The idea that for diasporans, and I'm not saying everybody feels this way, but sometimes for some diasporans, the feeling that Africa is like a mother that you were taken away from, and you're hoping that that mother would be waiting for you with open arms to hug you when you come. And then when you come, that mother has her arms folded and is just looking at you like, okay, so you're here. And like that is the experience when you have certain interactions with this place, certain interactions with the people here, certain interactions with frustrations here. And it's losing the light maybe that you had. Then I take note to Ghanaians, telling them that if you don't know already, the propaganda that Ghana has outside of Ghana, where Ghana is the beacon of hope for Black Renaissance or Black liberation in Africa. It's the beacon, the Black star of Pan-Africanism. Now, of course, that propaganda is based off of history, with quotes from Kwame Nkrumah, quotes from Marcus Garvey, quotes from, did you know Nina Simone went there? And did you know Louis Armstrong visited? These sorts of things. But a lot of it is like PR. And so some of the disconnect also is, wait, one moment, pause. And we're back. The disconnect then that happens with that is where I think this connects with this idea of Black responsibility or Black tax, where as Black communities in different places, there is supposed to be this, we take care of each other. All of our children are raised by all of us, that kind of thing. And the confusion, I think, for me, which I had the first years from being here, where the disconnect of, yes, Africa could be a mother, or yes, Ghana is that beacon of hope for Black liberation. And then you come to Ghana and take note that majority of people here are not Pan-African or don't even know what it is. And even the idea of Pan-Africanism has changed completely. And we're not even other African immigrants here sometimes are not even treated well among Ghanaians. Like, you see this kind of stuff, which goes completely against the imagery and the propaganda that Ghana is this beacon for all of Africa, or what Ghana was supposed to be compared to what Kwame Nkrumah wrote and what he claimed he wanted Ghana to be. So sometimes the frustrations that happen that causes us to never move past the complaining, or never move past, I can't work with people here, this kind of vibe, is that there's so much assumptions and conditioning that we're already carrying. And then we're kind of blindsided when what's in front of us doesn't match. And so, and again, I'm not claiming Ghana's government is in charge to do that. Like, no, they're not. The Beyond the Return should have done that. It's like, well, they didn't know, or maybe it's beyond them to do that. But for those of us who are choosing to come, or those of us who really do want to see everybody thriving, these are the types of things that we need to be thinking of, and need to really not just think and leave it alone, but actually adapt and implement and execute to get to the next point. Because that's what I've been waiting for, of like, we're now how many years from 2019? What can we show? Tangibly, what can we show for all of this effort? While the other immigrant groups from 2019 to now have just continued as they were 20, 30, 50 years before. What can we show other than numbers for a photo up because you got the passport, or numbers for a photo up because you're at the airport, or numbers for a photo up because you're on tour? This is where we need to be more, all of us from all sides, diasporans as well as Africans, need to be much more strategic about our power and where we're going to put it. And I think that is part of the reason why others who are thriving, maybe to them, there is no question about where their power is. So they can funnel it in a more strategic way. So it's true, like you noted, that because of the disruption that occurred, that question influences how we navigate things. That's something which I know is a broader question that maybe we can do another episode of, like, if Black people were never interrupted, where would we be today? That would be an interesting thing to take note of. Would we still be all over the world like we are? Would we still be sometimes confused about where to funnel our energy, where to funnel our prayers, where to funnel our power that actually can show for it in a way that's more collective? And I like how you noted that, the differences between coming from an individualistic system and having to adapt to a collective system, if that's the right way to put it. Is it collective or communal system? For me, I feel we need to be balancing the two, which I think we mentioned in a previous episode, actually, about the pros and cons between these two systems and how there needs to be a balance between the two. So I don't endorse the idea that, well, because you come from individualistic, you need to forget about all of that and pretend to be something you're not because you're choosing to be in Ghana. I don't think that works, because to be honest, there's quite a lot you could learn from somebody who's coming from that system, because we understand how things can be organized and be efficient. It doesn't mean we all have to pretend to be machines, but maybe we can learn from that. Similarly, though, the person coming from individualistic, you should be open to learn that maybe in a communal part, maybe it has to take a little more time. So the focus shouldn't be the time it takes. The focus should be, is it quality? If you can get them to get to that quality, it's okay if it takes a little more time. Where were you rushing to anyway? There's traffic. So where are you going? You weren't going anywhere anyway, so it's okay. So the where we focus the complaints or frustrations is I think what causes us to block the next step of where we can go. So there are so many more layers to it. We could have a part 2 about this, because like it also reminds me of another conversation about excellence. And when we complain about, I can't work with those people, when actually if you're a leader, you should be able to work with everybody, because the collective needs to move. Everyone needs to move. It can't just be you. But that's another conversation. Yes. But when it comes to, again, bringing it all together, the year of return and beyond the return initiatives were a mixed bag of great effort, great preparation, great taking a risk, because it could have gone in any different directions that they could not control. It possibly was also great strategic, clever way of trying to just make more money for whoever made extra money out of it, which, you know what? Good for you that you were clever enough to figure out how to make money. Fine. The next steps for that, though, like the people who were behind that, they started the engine. Where are we taking this? And I don't think we just sit back and watch them do something with it. They've now given us something to work with. So collectively, we should be trying to work with it. And the questions of when will the tangible results come, that comes into play when we finally move past the complaining, move past the conditioning and deconditioning that needs to happen, take notes and be more open to learning even from other demographics, as well as take note of what we want to take ownership of. So that is how our reflections, our experiences when it comes to this movement for African descendants coming back to Africa. What does that mean? Where are the results? What does that mean for them as well as Africans who've already been here? There is so much more. There is so much more potential. There's so much more that can be happening. And I don't know how much time we have to get past this point so we can actually strategically do that, because we're not doing this in a vacuum. There are so many other people and so many other entities who are also trying to infiltrate, trying to position themselves, and can use us while they're doing that. Are we being smart about that? Are we being strategic about that? Do we understand that? Find out on the next episode. No, I'm just playing. But we might have another episode. We'll find out. But yes, that's how I will end that. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I like what you said about being strategic with the power, like where we're going to put it, kind of thing. Because I agree. It would be interesting to see because this started in like 2019, right? And I guess I don't know, it was like a 10-year thing. So I guess we'll see what happens in another 5 years, and like how much this movement has helped everyone and how everyone has gotten together, and has it really put, like, how big of a dent has it put into the country, kind of thing. And because there's something else that you had said earlier. What did you say about like like getting past the complaints part, and then getting past there's a lot of surface level stuff, and be realistic, I think, with certain standards and assumptions. And that's what you said about the thing about like, oh, like Ghana is a beacon of hope and they'll have open arms for you, and then when you come and you're like, oh well. And then the song Open Arms from, who is it? What is it? What are they called? Journey came to mind. Anyway, whatever. Sorry, I had a music thought. Open Arms by Journey. Go look it up. It's a good song. But anyway, yeah. So like Ghana's like open arms, and we need to be strategic. We need to be realistic about our certain assumptions about things, or when we think certain things, we come to the country and it's not what we thought, or things are different. We need to be able to adjust, kind of thing. And I think that is the main thing, where don't expect and then when there are issues, you can't be like, oh, okay, never mind, I'm not going to talk to any people ever again here, I'm just going to be in my bubble. Like, no, you want to live here, so be, and because it is different in America. You're able to live by on your without you can live in America without talking to anybody, like and it's fine because it's America. That's how. But in Ghana, I feel like you need to, if you don't make it an effort on both sides to discuss and try to integrate, then you're just going to be everybody on the right side, everybody on the left side, and then you don't really talk, and then we don't, and I like what Dagny said, where finding time to explain things, like, which it can be hard, but sometimes like certain social cues, like if someone's acting odd and they don't fit what you think people should act like, you can ask. You can ask questions. You could be like, what? Because I think sometimes if you go in a different country, any different country, sometimes maybe in your country, doing a certain thing is not considered rude. But then if you go to a different country, it is considered rude. And you don't know that. And you're not sure. So like, I think it's good to like educate and ask questions and wonder why this is an issue, and try to, you know, and I suppose we could even have, I mean, like Dagny has so many stories like that, or like figuring out like, wow, like why is this thing not working the way I want it to, but when I was back home it does, like, because it's different, you know, and like, and sometimes there's an explanation for it, and you kind of have to like figure it out, you know. So it'd be interesting to see in, you know, in some years, I guess they said that, I don't know, 10 years, to see what goes on and like what happens there, because there's so many like, and then I know there's a lot of things against us, the media, propaganda, will say like there's so many things that get in the way of us trying to excuse me, understand each other and actually be able to like, let's work together and do this kind of thing and see what we can do. So it'll be interesting to see. And we thought it'd be a cool topic to talk about, because obviously it's a kind of a big deal now. And yeah, and here I think the main thing is having more channels of information and being open. Like it'll be different just because we're, I mean, yeah, we're all Black and everything, but everyone grew up differently in different parts. So obviously we're going to have, you know, I mean, even like even London and London and America, London diaspora and American diaspora, or even California and New York, we act different with each other. So of course there'll be differences of Ghanaians, like, you know, we're all different. So we have to figure out a way to have like a common ground and figure out a way to work with each other, and just you know, don't expect things to be like, well, it works like this where I was before, like, oh well, I had this idea of how Ghana should be, and if it's not, I have a problem. Like, okay, chill, okay, it's different, we understand that, but how can we work beyond that and get beyond that, where we're not always on that level of like, you know, the conversation should be more about like, you know, what is happening with diasporans and local people, and how are we integrating. It seems it's always, yeah, like you said, the same story of like, either you're complaining about things not working, or I just got here yesterday, or I just got my first, like it's always like, okay, well, but there's more, we need more stories, more of the story, like what is actually happening in the community, how are you helping, how are you being helped in this new place that you are, and like, you know, which I suppose you can get more from people who, I don't know, lived there for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I guess. But it'll be interesting to see where this year of return, well, beyond the return goes. And so it's not just a propaganda media photo op, and like people are all like, everyone's fighting against them because we don't fully understand. So I think information and communication are like really important things. But I guess that's, I don't know. I suppose that should be enough for now, because I'm talking for a while. We're always like, oh, we'll try doing this a little shorter. Yeah, whatever. But we'll probably do a part 2.
Definitely.
Because,
I think this was a great conversation, as always.
I think so too. Very interesting insights.
Yes, as always, for you listening, we hope you also enjoyed the conversation. And if there's anything else you would like to add, your insight or reflections about this topic, please reach out to us, comment. We love hearing from you. And let us know if there are any other insights you want us to dig deeper on this topic, and we might include that in our next episode. Until then, thank you again, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Yeah, stay blessed, stay open, stay positive. Bye.
Bye. Take care.